So on here, yeah, on there, you're gonna record to the cloud.
Okay, Jeff, we're ready.
Okay, give me just a moment.
Oh, got it.
Read the number. So Dolores is.
She's not gonna be able to.
Okay,
She doesn't pretend at all. Okay, so. Okay,
okay, that's fine.
all right, okay, so let me know when we're ready. Get started.
Okay, just update that.
Closed session. Yeah, that's fine. If there, you questions, two questions. I'm happy to the police questions. I'm going to have to do the question. Okay, so.
Mayor Stevens, whenever you're ready.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is a regular meeting of the Hollister City Council on March 16, 2026. The meeting is now called to order at 6:30. City Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Boucher,
Present.
Councilmember Resendez,
Present.
Vice Mayor Deanda. Here. And Mayor Stevens.
Here,
Councilmember Morales is not present. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, I'm gonna ask Councilman Fisher if he can lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So let me check in with our, city manager. Do we have anything to report from closed session from last meeting of March 2nd?
No, Madam Mayor, we don't.
Nothing to report. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's, move on then to special orders of the day. So, we're gonna start with the American Red Cross today. So this month is Red Cross Month, and so we're want to honor them by doing a proclamation. So we recognize March as American Red Cross Month and honor the volunteers and supporters who bring relief, comfort, and hope to those in need throughout our community. Over the last year, local Red Cross volunteers have assisted families affected by house fires, installed life-saving smoke alarms, collected blood donations, provided first aid and CPR training, and supported military families. Their compassion and service demonstrates the strength of our community and ensure that no one faces an emergency alone. The city of Hollister expresses its deep appreciation for its life-saving work and encourages residents to support the Red Cross mission. Do you have anything here from the Red Cross? Okay, not seeing anything. I just want to just add a little comment to this. Thank you to all the volunteers. What we know as city council members and as staff who work for government, that our community organizations such as Red Cross are crucial because we all can stand together as we help our neighbors and friends. So I just want to do a special shout out because truly the work that they are doing is life-saving. So thank you to all the volunteers for the American Red Cross. Okay, so we're gonna go on. Our next special order of the day is a Government Finance Professionals Week proclamation, and this is especially important to us because these are our internal folks at the city and otherwise who are for the government who help us to keep our books in order and help us keep our finances in check. So this is an important important proclamation. The last week of March is recognized as Government Finance Professionals Week and honors the dedicated public servants who manage our city finances. These professionals ensure transparency, accountability, and responsible stewardship of public funds while navigating complex budgets, legal requirements, and economic challenges. Often working behind the scenes, they provide the finance expertise that support informed decision-making and the delivery of essential public services. The city of Hollister expresses its appreciation to those public servants for their integrity, professionalism, and vital contributions to our community. So I want to give a special thanks to our city's finance staff. Anybody here from finance? Okay, so I'm not seeing anybody, but we want to do a special shout out, and all of us in here on the dais want to just express our gratitude to all of our finance departments, express that to our Jennifer O'Connell, who now is our director for finance. So let her know how grateful we are, because truly when you look at the budgets that we have to deal with, it is very complicated. So we greatly appreciate all of their hard work. Okay, so moving on to the next part of our agenda. So when we're at the public input section, this is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to the city clerk before speaking. While the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. If you are joining us via Zoom, please click on the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. If you're joining us via Zoom using a cell phone, please press *9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do you have any comments on this section?
Yes, Mayor, we have one from Tammy Avalos.
Okay, example?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and everyone here. My name is Tammy Aviles, and I am with the Friends of the San Benito County Free Library. And I just wanted to let everybody know that tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. is a public hearing for a possible $3 million grant for the library expansion project, which of course we've been championing for several years now. And the County Board of Supervisors has made the project a priority, and getting some additional funds would be fantastic for it. Accompanying the grant application, there's going to be a support list where people can sign, and it will be included. So I was hoping to leave a copy of the form with the city clerk for you to, or city manager.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you could sign, then I can pick it up tomorrow. That would be wonderful. And I appreciate your support. Look forward to, partnering with the city for the library. In addition, or my other hat, is I'm on the Board of Seniors Council of Santa Cruz and San Benito counties. And, we just want to say on behalf of Seniors Council, we haven't been here much, but we would love to come and share the Master Plan for Aging local playbook, which applies directly to our community and how we're implementing changes and just reaching out to our seniors, which is the fastest growing population in San Benito County. So we're just, working away on that too. So just want to say thank you for your support with that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tammy, did you say where or the 5:30 meeting tomorrow?
It is tomorrow at the San Benito County Board of Supervisors Chamber.
Okay.
I think it's like from 5:30 to 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Do you have any other speakers on this one?
No, there are no other commenters for this item.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go to the consent agenda. Do any members of council have a brief question or comments on items on the consent agenda?
I have a brief question.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Bishop.
It's on 7.4, it's on the weed update, item. And the reason I'm asking is because in my district, between Prospect and McRae, there's a railroad. And I know it's the second time I've asked, right, but, it's kind of going partially between Union Pacific, San Benito Railway LLC. When the weeds are pretty big. And talk about a public nuisance, when they're attached to the earth. It's on the railway to abate that, when they detach, it's on us. And when they detach, I mean, these things are so big. That people have made snowmen out of them, propped them up against like stop signs. In order to help, not like, have these kids get their cars, scratch up their cars, we've got some cool cars in town. So. I'm kind of loading the question. Is it possible that this could apply to, LLCs? Is it only like domestic homeowners? If you need more time, maybe we could bring it back, but, what do you got?
No, I can answer, the right of way for the railroad, we don't have any authority there, so we try and work with them. But we don't have any authority over the road, it's one of those unique areas, they have their own law enforcement, they control their own right of way, so as you stated, while it's still attached to the dirt. We can ask, and I know we've worked, code enforcement, trying to work with the railway to get them to clean it up, sometimes we can make it happen, sometimes we can't, I know we've used, Public Works has some contacts, but unfortunately. When it's within their right of way, we don't have the authority. But then once it breaks free and blows into the city, then it is our obligation to move it.
Yeah, they're like a sovereign nation, I get it. I was just hoping maybe if I ask you again,
I wish I had better news for you from the last time you asked, but unfortunately, that's. Still to say.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Anybody else on that, any brief questions or comments?
Last one, I just have one more.
Okay, quick question.
So, hats off to the city manager. It looks like she's, an altruistic team player. And on 7.9, it looks like you're giving up your executive assistant personnel. And, in order to get a couple of admin analysts in, building and permitting, and then one more police service officer position. Just in a nutshell, just give us a quick, overview, high level, just a little quickie, I'm sure the community will be pumped to hear. Just a little bit about that.
Certainly, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. So this is part of a restructuring of the city manager's office. As you know, we lost a long-term employee who found an exciting position in another state and moved on. And so that left me with a vacancy. And one of the options was to build like for like. And another option was to think about other needs. And so given the high capacity that we currently have in the city clerk's office, who has provided incredible support to me, that it became evident that I could focus that position on education, engagement, community outreach, communications in a manner that's more deliberate. And so instead of hiring an executive assistant, the idea is to bring a administrative analyst. The second position is intended to bring more capacity to economic development. So this is an area that we currently, the only line of defense that we have is the airport. And so, which is a tremendous economic development opportunity, but there are others. And so the idea would be bring an administrative analyst to work basically between both the airport and the city manager's office.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and so, with those two questions, I'm going to go to public comment and then bring it back to the council. Give me public comment on anything on the consent agenda.
Mayor Stevens, there are no public comments on any of these items.
Okay, thank you. So I'm giving you back to the council for a motion to,
All those are documents, students.
can I have a second?
All second.
And we don't need to do roll call, right? Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that one passes with consent, attached agenda items that are passed. So let's move on to item 8.1, adopt an urgency ordinance establishing a fire and building code board of appeals, appointment of the members of the board of appeals, and adoption of rules of procedures. Can we get a staff report, please?
Indeed, council member, Madam Mayor, we have received a request for an appeals to a decision that had been made based on the fire code. And that triggered the need to impanel an appeals board. So we took this opportunity to make sure that in the future, whether it is a fire or building, we have a board, and these are members of various communities, not just ours. And I'll speak to that in a second, who have specific levels of expertise. So these are not just your average person. We look for individuals that have background in construction, architecture, engineering, building inspection, fire code, and so on. One of the challenges of smaller communities that these individuals are supposed to be unbiased, and so it's difficult sometimes as a small community where everybody knows each other and has business together and has other ways of interacting. Sometimes it's difficult to find those. Nevertheless, we've put together a board of 7 people, 5 who are actually in the panel, 2 who are alternates. And the qualifications of those individuals were shared with you. And there is some timeliness to this issue because the hearing for that particular appeal is this Friday. So therefore, the need to expedite the procedures so that we can impanel the board and prepare them and get ready to have the hearing on Friday. It is a public meeting, anybody's welcome to it.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Cortez. Okay, so any questions or comments from council? Okay, so I'm going to open a public hearing at 6:47. Do you have any public comments in public hearing?
No public comments from inside.
Okay, so I will close it at the same time, 6:47. Any other comments from the dais? Okay, discussion, deliberation. Okay, so can I get a motion?
All those are Dr. Stevens.
I can have a second.
All second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so passes, so we have our appeals board together. Thank you. Thank you. Remember. Okay, let's move on to council business, item 9.1, stormwater informational presentation. Can we have a staff report, please?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Hernandez and his staff are going to give you a quick overview of one of the more exciting projects that we have right now with stormwater. Of course, stormwater being one of those, it's almost the orphan utility, and yet so important for members of the public that may be listening to this presentation. Regarding stormwater, it's essential. Is that ultimately it is about protecting our waterways. It is about protecting rivers. It's about protecting the Pacific Ocean and so on. And so there's a great deal of environmental value that we receive from our infrastructure. With that said,
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So this presentation is going to be pretty quick, but as the city manager alluded to, is very important. So this is focusing on what we can do to protect our waterways, not only ourselves as employees, but also residents of the community. So the question out there is pretty obvious, right? What is the city doing and how can we help? A lot of people don't notice some of these problems that they happen in everyday occurrence, right? So from doing oil changes or pollutants that enter our waterways based on car repairs that happen out on the right of ways,
to not picking up after your pets, to dumping trash in the storm drains, and to not being able to control your irrigation, or if you have rain areas that potentially drain into the public right of ways. Sometimes you carry those fertilizers out into the waterways, so a lot of people don't see a lot of this stuff but it really does impact what ultimately ends up in the rivers and then subsequently in the ocean. So what is the city doing about it? So as part of our development requirements, we are implementing green infrastructure such as bioswales, underground storage basins, and catch basin trash capture devices. So we as a city, we began constructing full capture systems within our outflow structures, and we'll get a little bit further into it, but there's two big projects that are underway, and one of them is almost in completion. One's on Bridge Road, down out here towards the roundabout. And then the second one is the Apricot Lane outfall. As you can see, they capture a significant amount of flow. One is over 1,000 acres, and then the other one's almost 300 acres. In addition to that one, also at the industrial plant, we have already a mechanism in place where we do capture the South Street outfall. And then I'll pass the rest of the presentation over to one of our very talented engineers here, Marco.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you, here for covering the first part of the presentation. So when it rains, typically rainwater flows from impervious surfaces such as parking lots, roads, and that ends up going into our city stormwater system. As you can see from the map, it kind of depicts the city's storm drain system. However, the color on the map encapsulates where the rainwater is captured and the area it runs off to. So for instance, the blue area runs off the San Benito River. The rainwater that's captured within the light green area runs off to the Santa Ana Creek, and the red runs off into our terminal basins. This being said, the city currently has 20 outfalls and 5 terminal basins, all of which the San Benito River or the Santa Ana Creek, which eventually make its way into the ocean. Based on this master plan map, if the city stormwater system captured about captured about 8,000 acres, but only 1,200 acres are being treated by our existing terminal basins, which is only 15% of the city's watershed. So why exactly is this small percentage important? Well, to the next slide.
Is it too far?
So, as I previously mentioned, only 15% of the city's watershed is being treated by our existing terminal basins. So you may be wondering, what is a terminal basin? Well, as you can see from the top, that's an aerial shot of one of our terminal basins at our industrial wastewater treatment plant. And just think of a terminal basin as a large filter. It's a pit where water collects and slowly gets infiltrated before slowly getting infiltrated back into a natural waterway. In this instance, the San Benito River or the Santa Ana Creek. But yeah, that's just, it can either be a concrete basin like we have at the industrial wastewater treatment plant, or a natural landscape pit. additionally, like Javier mentioned, we are installing and have installed stormwater trash capture devices with part of our IWPP and Bridge Road outfall stormwater improvements project. And it's kind of hard to captivate the size of these stormwater trash capture devices. So for reference, you can see on the photo to your left is the massive 40-foot pole with our current project where you know the devices are being placed. So I mean they're quite significant. And if you know look closely, you can see that person in the background. That's actually me. So yeah, it's yeah pretty massive. And to the bottom right is one of our right there. No, right there. That's one of the other stormwater trash capture devices that was installed at our Apricot Lane outfall. So the Apricot Lane outfall that stormwater trash capture device will be able to handle the about 275 acres of coverage for the entire city's watershed. And the more significant one, which is to your left, will basically account for 1,161 acres, which is about an additional 14.5% or so of the remaining acres that you kind of treated or accounted for in treatment in terms of stormwater runoff. So what else are we doing? Parks have installed pet waste bins located at our parks, just to have people pick up after their pets. We've also increased street sweeping activities. We've kind of taken more upon education and outreach. At the bottom of the slide, that's actually one of the flyers that we send out with our utility bills. And we've also been seeking grant funding as part of the IWPP and Bridge Road stormwater improvement project. We received nearly 6.2 million in grant funding. So something that we were actively pursuing. And that brings us to our conclusion. Is there any questions that you guys may have?
Thank you for that presentation. Appreciate it. Councilmember Wilson.
Thank you. It's very informative. I appreciate it. Couple of questions. I guess number one, the one on Bridge Road, it's 1,000 acres. Why is that one 1,000 and the other ones are so less?
So it's kind of dependent on the location, right? So it's kind of, you can't really control stormwater. It's kind of the way that the topographic area of the city's laid out. So it's just Bridge Road is the ideal location where most water wants to gravity. And so with this being said, we need to upsize during the design of the project, these stormwater trash capture devices need to upsize to handle the amount of runoff that's naturally gravitating or wanting to go into the San Diego.
Did we have one there before we started construction on this newer one?
No.
So where was all that water? It's going right to the river?
Goes into the.
Oh, it's not good. Okay, well, thank you. My other question is more of a logistics question. I had a question from a constituent that said that when they're walking the Apricot Trail there, that they can't walk through. I'm just wondering if, I don't know how far we are from completing construction, but if we could create like a pathway or if that's been addressed. I don't remember if I brought it to staff yet or not. Or, yeah, that's my question.
Sometimes during construction, for construction safety, we do close the trails. We have to look into what portion, the bridge street or that CDF unit, the trash capture unit. is still a couple months away from completion. So we have to wait for water tables to receive a little bit before we get into the construction.
Okay, so I guess if I could just ask you to potentially prioritize if there's any way for the residents on the west side to get access to that trail to come and go, because there's no other way other than for them to go across the street, that we can take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. Well, first of all, this is really important, right? Being good stewards of our natural environment, I mean, that's super important. Some of 15% of the water is treated, and does that mean 85% of the water is not treated?
Well, we have, the exact numbers, I think we were just talking about it, we're closer to 40% total, right? Because we have terminal basins, and then, well, once this is well concluded, Marco knows a little bit about the details, but, that 114% was just for Bridge Road. So then we have the Apricot Lane, the terminal basins, there's a total of 5, so I think the percentage is a little bit high.
Yeah, it's about, after the completion of this project, it's about 37 or so. Which still leaves us with a big chunk that's being left untreated, and as a state mandate, we have until 2030 to, get to 100% by regulation of the state water. So we've got some work to do.
And so water's valuable. I think the city manager talked about the value of water. Are we, knowing that, are these, terminal basins, are we able to replenish our groundwater? Are we can we collect some of it instead of running it off, or?
We were actually, infiltrating everything into the ground, water table, so, it goes into these terminal basins where the concrete lined ones, and then it's actually pumped into, percolation pumps. So none of it ends up in the river. It has overflow mechanisms installed in case we aren't able to handle it, but we have enough capacity to handle it and infiltrate into the groundwater basin.
Oh, okay, so it goes back into the groundwater and it's clean, but effectively once it goes through the ground, it's.
Once it goes through these
safe,
systems.
it's natural.
Yeah.
Okay. And it looks like we gotta come up with some matching funds, looks like that's $6.2 million grant that we have to come up with matching.
Correct. This project's already been fully funded, so we're in construction.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Any questions? Okay, and my question was gonna be about the finances. I was curious about that too, but it looks like that's been answered, so thank you for that. I'm gonna go to public comment. Any public comments on this item?
There are no public comments, please.
Okay, thank you. So we need to take an action on this, which is information.
Just informational.
This information. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next item. I'll go ahead. Yeah, okay.
Mr. Powell will report on item 9.2 and also item 9.3.
Okay, so our 9.2 annual report on Hollister Succession Agency Low, Moderate, Low Income Housing Asset Fund for fiscal year 24-25. So Mr. Powell, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This will be a short, sweet presentation to you. This is something you normally see on consent, but we pulled it off of consent and we trying to highlight some of the work that's been done and just the follow-up with any questions you might have. This presentation that is currently up is for the next item. So there's a PowerPoint. So I'm here to give you a quick presentation on the city's annual low and moderate income housing asset fund report for fiscal year 24-25. This report is essentially a required annual task that comes to us from the state in its role as the successor agency to the former redevelopment agency of the city of Hollister. The intent of the report is to document any activities that have occurred during the fiscal year and to report out on the assets of the fund and to ensure they're expended in accordance with the Dissolution Act that needed redevelopment agencies in 2012. So to jump into it, for fiscal year 24-25, the city used its available funds to provide continued rental assistance to 10 very low income homes or households at the Prospect Villa apartment complex. And this is in the amount of approximately $17,000. Funds were, the city is also reporting through this report that, full repayment of one of its rehabilitation loans occurred during the fiscal year, and to the tune of about $13,000. And that it's continuing to monitor over 140 deferred payment loans that are within the community. Just for your general perspective, the fund's current balance stands at $1.2 million. And its estimated value of deferred and or forgivable loans is approximately $15 million. And just to close out, upon approval from you, the report will be submitted to the State Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation at the state, and we will also post it on the city's website. That concludes this report. I do have Camilla Saka here, who is our housing program coordinator, that can answer any specific questions regarding the report.
So, thank you for that report. Do you have any questions, comments, questions? Okay, not seeing any. Do you have any public comments on this item?
There are no public comments for this time.
Okay, so I think, there's no action to be taken on this one either. Am I correct in that? Yeah, so we're just taking the report. Thank you so much for that information. Oh, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I want to make sure you understand that these are actually our assets. These are homes that where we have an investment, and these are to remain affordable for what's the affordability to
Affordability is typically around 50 years.
so for 50 years. So these assets, they used to belong to the development agency, but again, with the solution, they came to the city of Hollister. So these are our assets. This is how we help our low-income families have dignified housing.
Yeah, I mean, low-income housing is always a priority for us at the guys. Go ahead, Councilmember Summers.
Thanks, I'm just confused, maybe we can check with yourself or the city attorney, it says that we need to accept it, so I'm wondering if we have to take a motion.
To be safe, that would be,
I think so, just Thompson, should we vote on this?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
It says that we need to accept it in order to give it to the state, to be the state that we should do that, so I would suggest, just to be safe, that we do.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Thank you. Next, Stevens.
Okay, I'll take a motion on this then.
Move to adopt.
Second,
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you for that. So we'll move on to item 9.3, a resolution accepting the 2025 general plan and housing element annual progress report. Staff report, please.
in line with the last report, this is another obligated state annual report. And it is, whose intent is to clearly provide the jurisdiction with an opportunity to review its progress on its general plan and housing element for the past year. This is governed by government code. Government Code 64500 requires that the city submit its annual progress report. Again, it's reporting on the progress and the implementation of the general plan, and this general plan would be the 2005 general plan at this point. We are also reporting on the 6th cycle housing element progress towards meeting a regional housing needs assessment numbers. And in closing, it is essentially a statement that to the degree that implemented the policies of the general plan and how we're to project reporting, so to speak. To get into a bit of it, so in this report, in regards to the general plan, we are reporting that in March 2025, the city repealed the adoption of the 2040 general plan. But that also during the year, we've continued to work on the revision of that 2040 general plan and its anticipated adoption next month. In that, we're stating that the 2040 general plan update will bring the 2005 to 2023 general plan more in line with the current legislation that is rapidly occurring within the state, and into best practices, also incorporating the elements that are required, such as the safety element, and dealing with things like environmental justice and CEQA. and a number of items that probably weren't around in 2005 when it was created. This slide calls attention to specific policies that were addressed within the report that we thought would be interesting. They involve land use, grants, and safety. The first two, the LU.Cs, are one of the items is a zoning ordinance overhaul. This is a much needed item that's currently making its way in incremental progress through the planning commission, and it will eventually come to the council for final adoption. And it involves updates of the use tables and the definitions that are related to zoning and planning. The other item that is in the land use category involves our downtown objective design standards, and that's where we're setting a parameters for how we would like our downtown area to look in a cohesive way. And we expect to bring this to you in 2026 as well. CG is referring to a grant type programs, and in this we are noting that the city applied for and was awarded the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program, and this was accepted in 2026. You may recall that we got some reports from public works staff that are implementing these things. So we've got a pretty good grant program going with that. And then the final two are related to the new safety element piece of the general plan. This is something that came about in 2025 as a new requirement. And in this, we have had to update the fire hazard severity zone maps, take it through a winding path through the state CAL FIRE review, et cetera, and update things such as evacuation studies and safety elements and maps. And then we also wanted to note in regard to safety that in regard to fire and police protection, we have made notable changes in our fire department to expand on fire prevention and move into a new facility for expanded capacity and access. And that our police department is also planning to work on a dispatch and real-time crime center and facility upgrades that are much needed. Now we'll transition over to the housing element piece of this. And again, this is covering the 6 cycle housing element, and it is, again, we anticipate to adopt next month. And what's unusual about this year's report is that the state has changed their reporting format to ask that we actually report out on those policies. So we are making some report outs on the draft policies that will be coming in on our housing element once it's certified and adopted. We wanted to point out there's often the formulaic way and where the numbers fall are often guided by entitled or built or permitted. And so we did want to point out to you that the regional housing needs assessment numbers are arrived at through actual pulling of building permits or permit issuance. So it's not turning in an application, it's actually getting authorization to pull a permit to build. You don't necessarily have to build. So that what the state has arrived at is that once you pull the permit, you're allowed to count it towards the RENA number. And then we also had a bit of a surprise as we kind of went through the calculation of the numbers, and we realized that something that staff had forward thinking when issuing a optional applicant self-survey on ADU applications has actually resulted in us capturing a lot more detail on how ADUs in our community are currently helping us to really impact our low, very low, and extremely low income level housing needs. So that was a surprise characteristic from us, and it is a self-reporting mechanism from the owners as they develop their ADUs. They have voluntarily told us who is living in their home, and we've been able to adjust that to an income level reporting category. So this is a nutshell of the regional housing needs assessment report. So the first numbered column, that 4,163 is the city's assigned RENA number. And you will see that in the second to the right column, the 337 is the total progress that the city has made since the RENA cycle began in 2023. And so we currently still have 3,826 units outstanding of that 4,163. And then above it is where the various units were assigned by income categories. So that's how we report our RENA numbers to the state. And then on this this slide also further shows you a little bit of detail on the housing projects that have been reported on in the city this year. So the top level is the entitled residential units. These are units that have either gotten planning commission or council approval to move forward. And so they are entitled. Notably, this last year, the 4th Street apartment complex next to the Dollar General, the 17-unit project, was the largest entitled program last year. The middle category is the residential building permits that have been issued, and you'll see a total of 166. And that the majority of these units, all but one, are in the above moderate income category. So this signals to you that these are subdivision homes that are not necessarily at a lower income level. So these are typical market rate homes that have been sold. And then the lower category is the occupancies that have been granted. So those are completed builds, final inspection, people have moved in. And so of that, you can also see that a majority of them are at the above moderate income level, which signifies that people are still moving into those new homes and new subdivisions primarily. And with that, that concludes my report. I have either Kelly on hand, planning manager, to answer questions as needed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So now, questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Lewis on this.
Thank you, probably for Miss Kelly. You saw my face when I saw that RENA numbers are only gonna be. It's gonna count towards RENA when the permits are issued. Can you just walk us through that? Because my understanding was that the city had an obligation to plan. Is this changing that where we actually have to have permits hold? I'm confused by this.
No, thank you for your question, Councilmember Sims, happy to clarify. So for the purpose of the housing element that the council adopts, it is a planning document. So you have to plan for 4,163 units to potentially be able to be the through your policies and programs and your specifications. But as we go through the cycle, we do report on progress toward those numbers, and the every year, the actual number that goes into that 4,163 is based solely on permits issued, building permits.
You can see where my face gave you that reaction.
Yeah.
It was a little confusing. My other question, Ms. Kelly, is I like the idea of the self-reporting application. If that's going to count towards RENA as well.
Yes, so we modified our ADU applications, so ADUs, JADUs, and multifamily ADUs to just ask an optional survey they can say around to say for an estimated rent that we think they might be renting the unit out. We have language in there that says, you know, this doesn't affect your application, we're not holding you to this, we're not gonna inquire with you after. But we are, through those self-surveys, every single one who has chosen to report, with the exception of one, has been low income or lower. And so we've reported them. You'll see in the RENA that we count both deed restricted and non-deed restricted units. And so we've been able to count those as non-deed restricted.
I think this is huge, and I think that we should probably push a little bit more of the community education out there so that people know they're not going to get in trouble. But I think that this is going to be useful in a number of ways, not just for the RENA, but for us to get like an actual count of what we have out there. So I really like this idea, but I'd like to see us market it and let people know that there's not going to be repercussions, like we just need to know. And I can see how it's useful for RENA too. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions? I'm not sure if this is a question that maybe you can answer, so help me to get a better sense on why we have like 0 to no low income, anything like below the moderate income, we almost have 0 in those categories, and not only, I mean, well, let me just leave it at that.
Sure, yeah, so the city does not have very many affordable units in the pipeline. So we're not seeing them built out as Rod mentioned in his presentation. The 165 is the subdivisions you're seeing being built with single family detached homes. You see it at Everglen, Little Randy. Aspen Park is starting to come online with the Vista But that one low income is actually an ADU, the non-restricted ADU that self-reported back when they got their entitlement, and then they did full building permit this year. So we're hopeful that that'll, as these entitled projects move forward, we might see more affordable income, and if aside from the 17 projects bringing us to the total of 38 of the entitled residential units this year, the rest were affordable ADUs, and then the 14 above moderates were also ADUs, but they just prefer not to say, so we report them as market rate. I don't categorize them, but we don't actually know. But all of those entitled as those ADUs full building permits potentially this year, we'll be able to report as ADUs and so on units. And we have not seen any, besides the 17 residential unit 100% affordable project. That's the only project that's come forward under our inclusionary ordinance so far. And they were subject to it, but they were also 100% affordable, so it didn't affect their affordability in plan.
And then can we just, I'm trying to remember my planning commission days, some of those details are kind of foggy in my brain. When there is a subdivision or development that is approved, a percentage of those are required to be affordable, and I put that in quotes, right? Because affordable is a technical term that means something very specific. Can you remind me what that percentage is?
Yes, so the city's adopted including ordinance is 15% affordability with breakdown of the subcategories.
And the affordability category can be anything below market rate, so the moderate income counts in that, right? So the low, very low, extremely low, and acutely low. We should just like kind of ignore those and just stick to the moderate, and then we meet that 15% threshold. Is that right?
Moderate is considered affordable, so
Yeah.
here affordable, yeah, it's a unit that's restricted to moderate income, which is 80 to 110%. That is an affordable.
Okay, I just wanted to, I mean, again, it's like reminding myself as well as just to let people know, let our public know, because I always want to take an opportunity to express when we say affordable, what that really means. And for a lot of people, affordable in quotes is still not affordable. Because it's really when you get into the lower income where many people, especially young families that are just starting out, they're more in those categories because a moderate income is still very high because we live in a very, very high market. So I just wanted to just kind of throw that out there. Okay, I'm going to then go to public comment and then come back to the dais for any last minute questions or deliberation.
And there are no public comments for this item.
Okay, so do you have any last, okay, go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens, and thank you for reminding me about that 15% of affordable, I say it in quotes, like the mayor had said. We've got senior citizens, we've got families just starting out. We need more affordable housing. That's 100% true. But my question, I guess, is, because I do have a bit of a question. When the last mayor and the last council was here, they lowered the thresholds from, I think, 20 to 15%. That could be problematic with what the mayor just pointed out. If we were to address that now, is that gonna hold us from getting our housing general plan and the housing element adopted? Because I think we need to readdress that, but I don't wanna do anything that's gonna jeopardize us not getting the general plan and housing element adopted. Does that make sense?
Yes, I don't know that it would directly have an impact on the adoption of the general plan and the housing element, but we have had comments submitted on the housing element that you've seen in the past, moving forward, but also there's been new comments that have come forward in the package from the Builders Association on the inclusionary housing program, so HCD could look at it and could have an indirect effect, but it's not a direct effect. I could tell you in the legislation that it would be public.
Okay, thank you.
So, council member, it is a policy decision, so in the future we can, maybe we should revisit inclusionary housing. We can have discussions about a higher percentage and the impact that that would have, but the market does not provide for affordable housing. That's why we have a housing crisis. So this is not an area where folks are gonna jump in and want to build affordable housing. It takes us establishing partnership with nonprofit developers who develop, affordable housing, but, having a policy that I think is very clear, indicating that this is something that the city wants to pursue is very.
Well, I agree. I just think that we need to clearly define it. If you've got politicians beating this drum, we need more affordable housing. Yeah, but the mayor just said like affordable housing is not really affordable for seniors and new families starting out. So let's clearly define that. I think it needs to come back. I don't want to hold up the general plan, but I think we need to clearly define that and clearly define the expectations of what real affordable housing looks like, rather than using it as a political platform just to get reelected and fool people thinking they're gonna get more affordable housing when it's really not affordable for teachers and seniors and families starting out.
So we have affordability, is defined by the federal government, so the good news is that we're all operating from the same tables. And it's more a matter of the city taking an affirmative step towards saying, for example, low income versus workforce housing. The two are different, there are pros and cons, but those are the discussions that should educate your policymaking when we get to the point of defining what is affordable housing, what is workforce housing.
I'd like to see it come back as soon as we can, as long as it doesn't impact the adoption of the general plan and the housing element. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just add to what the city manager said, I mean, when it's set by percentage of the market. And so because we have a very high market, it still can be very high if you're at like the first level of affordable housing. So I think that's the misnomer when you say, I mean, when we call it that, I mean, I just think it's I don't understand why we even call it that. I think we should just call it what it is. It's, I don't know, whatever the threshold is, like 80% of the market, and then the 60% of the market, and the 50%. I mean, I think we should just speak about it in those terms. So it's very clear to people what we're talking about when we use the terms affordable, because it can be very deceiving. Okay, so with that, quick question. Okay, quick question, go ahead. Councilmember Jay.
So we hear about, when it comes to the regional housing needs assessment, that there are sanctions that the state will eventually be put on municipalities such as ours. And thinking about like just how to avoid sanctions and how to avoid things that like builders, planning, reduce local control, funding, things like that. Councilmember Rosendez's question kind of got me thinking. When we ratify the general plan and we have identified sites where building can occur, is that what will help us to avoid sanctions by the state, or is, I mean?
So the context for your question is that the state of California has a framework under which jurisdictions get to say, these are our dreams, this is the community that we envision, as we're zoning that. So do you want more agricultural land? Do you want more parks? Do you want more educational institutions, and so on and so forth? What's important when we're talking about the housing element, of course, is to make sure that the zoning is there for the housing to be built. It does not mean that we build the housing. It does not mean that people are forced to build the housing. What we're saying is in that piece of land, in those parcels, there shall be housing. As long as we stick to a very strict timeline, which I will be addressing through restructuring in the city, so that in the future, we have a accountable liaison between the city and HCD. I think it will help avoid this type of situation. We have to have good relationships with the program people at HCD, so we don't have to talk to their attorneys. That would be the goal.
And can you say what HCD is?
Or the Housing Community Development, that's the state of California.
So we should have the public to. That, okay, is that, okay, go ahead, Councilmember.
Really quick, I hope Anita publishes this and doesn't focus on other things. In 2023, I did a little bit of research, and the median household income for Hollister was roughly $94,000. For Latinx families, it was $78,000. Now, today, it has jumped to $150,000. for median families. I thought back then this was high, 98,000. So I just want to really put this into context and for us to keep in mind how much specifically Hollister has jumped. And when you talk about affordable, now it's being measured at that 150 median household, which is unreal, right? So just keep that in mind. I hope we will publish that in our article. Thank you.
Okay, okay, any comments on this?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think, I don't know if this would fall into, the presentation that, Rob did for, before this one, but what's the likelihood that we would possibly be able to look into a community land trust so that it does go into, like, if there's housing that needs to be built, it will be affordable and it does so. To answer that question, I mean, certainly a community land trust would be a strategy that we could look into. Truth be told, I have not had time to really dive into the review of the housing element and the general plan. I intend to do that next week. But we will be looking at those types of strategies. These are not new. In our area, actually, the city of San Jose has been a trailblazer in land use, using land trusts as far back as 1995. So we've learned some lessons. It's not foolproof. We've learned some lessons as far as retaining the affordability periods and making sure that the housing units are being restricted to make sure that they're always affordable. And so that is one strategy that we can use. And if we are not looking into it, we will certainly do it.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so let's go to public comment.
You already did.
Oh, sorry, I already did that. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me just check in with our city manager. Are we taking a vote on this, or this is first goes to planning commission and then it comes back to us? Are we just doing a motion to accept the report but not necessarily approve? What's the action?
You do have to you have to adopt the resolution, accepting the report.
Okay.
It can be submitted.
And then it will come back to us after planning commission. Okay.
It's just an
Okay,
step.
I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have those steps mixed up. Okay, so can I get a motion to accept the report?
Before I make that motion, I just
Okay.
want to make a quick statement. Just so the public's clear and our staff is clear that this is, I think, a high priority of the council that's here today. There's not one here today, high priority. And I have faith in our staff that we worked with for a number of years to help execute that. So please keep in mind of the conversation that we had up here and for the public, and I hope that you really writes on this. I really do hope that you put this out to the public so they have that information, because I think it's lacking. That is what our goal is. That is what our focus, that's what our attention is. Real affordable housing, not politicians banging the drum of affordability when it's unrealistic and affordable for people like our neighbors and our family members. And I will probably make that motion to adopt. Thank you, then.
Okay, thank you. Second.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, okay. So, thank you for that report, and then we will move on to, the item number 9.4, an ordinance adding chapter 1.06 to the city of Hollister Municipal Code to delegate authority to the city manager to sign city contracts, conveyances, and instruments requiring the city seal. Staff report, please.
So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, both 9.4 and 9.5 are actually related. The gist of it is administrative needs. We are trying to eliminate some of the red tape that we currently have in the city. So for example, currently, only the council can sign contracts, conveyances, leases, and by accepting this ordinance, you would be granting me the authority to do that. If I could also jump into 9.5, what this is, currently I have contract authority up to $100,000. We went ahead and used the current authority that we have from the state of California for public works contracts, in which after 220 we must come to the council. So try to bring some consistency. We are
suggesting that we move from 100,000 to move it up to 220, so that I would be able to sign contract for up to 220. What these ordinances are not about is about circumventing procurement. Nobody has the right or to circumvent procurement unless of course there's a state of emergency. And as you may recall from COVID being our last state of emergency, one of the key elements in those resolutions is the fact that we pause procurement steps. So this is not about procurement, this is strictly about services that once they have been properly procured and the contract is entered into, if it's 219,000, I can go ahead and sign. Having said that, I would welcome a friendly amendment, because I do think that it's good to trust, but it's good to verify too. So that I provide to you a report, it's up to you how often you want to hear it, as far as what contracts, what conveyances, what leases I've entered into, because I do think it is important for transparency reasons, for you to know what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that report. Questions, comments, Councilor Sanders?
Thank you, Mayor. So maybe, Ms. Thompson can jump in as a matter of process. Do we need to open up for public comment for one item, vote on one item, and then address the next item and do the same?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So my comments are gonna be for the next item, so I would suggest that we open up for public comment for 9.4.
Okay, let me check with the rest of the time.
Okay.
Questions on that one? Okay, public comment on this item?
There are no public comments for this.
Okay, okay, so I'm gonna bring you back to the diet, any last minute.
So I just want to double check what you said, the city manager, that you were going to create, like, in your city manager report, you're gonna read out to us, like, the.
So if I can, I'm sorry. Councilor Boucher, if we can just vote on this item as a matter of process, so that we can talk about that, because I've got questions about that as well. Does that make sense? We need to vote on 9.4, then we can talk about 9.5, and then vote. I'll do her public comment and then talk about that.
I think it could be relevant to this item as well,
I'm
however.
so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm written about 9.5.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
one of them is a dollar limit, 9.5, and the other is about contingent, okay.
Got it.
Like, you part of your city manager report, the things that you had signed contracts, as part of, transparency and public trust, right? You really will report out. So,
Correct, Councilman, so there are different ways for a city manager to convey information of this nature. I could include it in an email on a Friday evening. I could, when we are doing our chickens, share that information with you. However, because regaining the community's trust is a priority, I do think it's best to formalize it and to make sure that I'm accountable for providing that information in this very specs. So that way, not only you, but also the community, colleagues, members of the public can be part of that information.
that's something that-
Okay, and then here's my comment about that, city manager. I do like the idea of providing a summary to the council on the things that are listed, the conveyances, the contracts, instruments. However, here's what I'm hoping that we don't do, because it kind of defeats the purpose of doing this. The purpose of doing this is to create efficiencies and to, we give you certain levels of authorities, but we have more efficiencies, we're not, then becoming inefficient, ineffective in doing that. So what I don't want is to switch one process for another that then leads one of them, makes it more efficient, and then we become less efficient. So as long as the way in which you're reporting these and summarizing this does not create inefficiencies, because the purpose of doing this is to be more efficient, right? More effective, more efficient. I'm gonna repeat those words, but that's the reason that we do that. Otherwise, we get bogged down with a bunch of things and then we get nothing done. So I do like the idea of having a summary report occasionally on these things. And however, I just wanna be careful that we don't, in doing so, then create questions, delays, revisions that then lead to some, like what we're trying to do, which is streamline some processes in doing, 9.4. So that's my little comment. So I want to make sure that we remain, that we meet the goal of being more efficient and streamlining and not in doing so, like adding and updating your requirement for your report, creating inefficiencies. Okay, that's my comment. Councilmember Hernandez, go ahead.
Thank you. So just point of clarity for myself, city manager, because 9.4 is giving you authority to sign. In summary, 9.5 is increasing the amount. Got it. Okay, so yeah, my comments will be for the next one. So
Okay, so I am ready to entertain a motion. We didn't have any other comments on this, so I am ready to entertain a motion with those comments that I just made.
I'll move to adopt on 9.4.
9.4. Can I get a second on 9.4?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the next one, which we've already received the city manager report on, which is increasing the city manager's purchasing authority to 220,000 from 100,000. And I don't think we need any other clarification on that, but let me check in with my council members. Any questions or comments on it? Okay, public comment on that item. We have the public comment.
No public comments, ma'am.
Okay, so then let's bring it back. Any questions or comments? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Rosales.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Stevens. Thank you, city manager. I agree with what the mayor stated, that I don't think that we want to put a policy into place that is just that we're gonna kind of cancel it out by having you do something extra. But I do like the idea of being transparent in public and the idea of checks and balances, especially when we're increasing this. So I'm open to suggestions. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to like micromanage and have you do it every meeting and whatnot, but maybe we can introduce some language in there that, and maybe the attorney can chime in here, that maybe quarterly at the city manager's discretion, something that we can just be fiscally responsible and we're reporting out to the public and to the council. And of course, like always, you're so good about disclosing this information to us during our briefings as well. So I don't know, city attorney, any ideas on what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would remind the city council is that you do see all of the payments made. So you do see all of the warrants, and those are all payments made authorized by the city manager or the city council or any payment that goes out. So that is one form of transparency to the community and to you. If you wanted to be more specific and wanted to know what types of procurement the city manager was engaged in, you could require a quarterly report or something to that effect. That's really up to you. And I'll let the city manager chime in as to whether or not that would be administratively difficult, but I suspect not. But she can speak further to that.
Everything we do is DocuSign, so it's as simple as just asking for a report. It is absolutely no work at all.
And, you know, I'm really comfortable with what she said, and again, I want to agree with what the mayor had said too. I don't want to double your work. Maybe if we're getting these briefings and you're letting us know that we'll say, hey, this is probably something, maybe just be open to that suggestion. I'm comfortable with that. Thank you, Mayor Stevens.
Yeah, and if I'll just chime into that too. I mean, I think a summary report occasionally, especially on those that are like, I don't know, they're like in a higher dollar amount, you know, maybe like over 150,000 or something, just a summary, but not anything that's going to create a ton of work or that's going to generate more work for you, right? So again, I just try to continue to be efficient. Okay, and that's actually, okay, go ahead, Councilmember Page.
Just the last thing, so it's, sometimes I forget that every meeting we have, city staff has done 2 weeks worth of work, right, on city policy directions that we kind of given them. And You know, we appreciate you, we appreciate staff, we appreciate every single one of the people that actually really make the town work. I'm really not happy with. These things when it comes to the public, they, you know, they're so busy, people are commuting and struggling 125, 156 better. But, you know, the big ticket items, like you're saying, I think that they appreciate it. That's just how.
Great stuff.
You've done 2 weeks worth of work every time you feel it. So it's feels like one. But for the public, they don't problem.
Okay. Okay, did I put a public comment on this one already? Okay, I did. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so I will entertain a motion on this.
We'll do that.
Second, please.
Second,
All those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay, so that one's, passed, thank you. So let's go on to informational reports, of committee assignments. So this is when our council members will report on any committees, ad hoc, community meetings, et cetera, that they're on. So let me start on this end of the days. Councilmember Sanders, okay, Councilmember Boucher.
Yes,
ahead.
on March 11th, I was at the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments Board of Directors meeting. And they've been working hard on the draft 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy. Just a little background, the draft 2050 MTP/SCS is the blueprint for the regional transportation system that further enhances our quality of life. And I know we all ran on quality of life, like for the people who live here, people in Monterey, Santa Cruz, San Diego counties. Enhances their quality of life, promotes sustainability, and offers more mobility options for people and kids. There was a public comment period that closed, so we were able to go through and just kind of go through some of the things that people had said. There were quite a few responses. Most of them was support for and opposition to the transportation modes, the modalities, and specific projects. Moving forward, anticipated milestones are from now until the end of May. They're going to finalize the response comments and prepare a final 2050 MTPS and final EIR. And the board of directors considers certifying the final EIR and adopting the final 2050 SCS in June. The other thing that was of local significance, there was a lot of informational reports, was the regional early action planning grants. The REAP grants provide funds to regional governments to accelerate housing production, make things a little bit more efficient, reduce vehicle miles traveled, permittively furthering fair housing with accelerating infill developments. It's administered by California's Housing Development. And I mean, I'm happy to report we used half of the funds that we were allocated. We were allocated $170,000 and we used about 78,000. So we had some projects in the pipeline that we were able to use the money for. Any remaining funds do stand to potentially go back to either other municipalities that have some shovel-ready projects, or potentially if not used locally in Monterey or Santa Cruz or even here. I believe we have used what we can with projects that we have in pipeline, but they could potentially go back to the state. We don't know if one comes back from the states, and there's a thing to do, but that was the only majority of the as far as it relates to accidents.
Okay, great, thank you. Councilmember Dion?
Yeah, I would just like to point out that, myself and the mayor, we will have our first animal services, ad hoc meeting. The first one of the year is Thursday, so then, when we come back for our next meeting next month, we'll have an update on how that's looking.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, now that's like all things for the same thing. So I'm just gonna report that we had a LACO meeting on March 12th, and LACO is our, agency that kind of oversees and, helps to draw lines of, land use, related to land use for districts, for cities, for counties, etc. So the main item that we looked at was updating a dock access contract, which is, what their role is to ensure that all of the documents that come out of LAFCO are, accessible to all people, and so we accepted that so that we're sure that people who have any auditory or visual impairments, can also have access and read these documents. So that was the main item that we looked at. We also got an announcement that our alternate public representative seat is vacant, and so we will be accepting applications for the alternate public representatives. So anybody interested, please contact Jennifer Stevenson and apply so that we will hear that item next month. And that's it. So we also, I just wanted to just quickly mention that we also had a very successful meeting on that same day, on the 12th, with local business owners and just in general the public about things related to our planning, permitting, code enforcement, etc. I'm not going to report on it because I know our city manager has that on her report. Councilmember Yanda and I went to that, and 3 members of our planning commission. It was a very successful joint planning commission, city council, plus the community meeting, very successful, and many thanks to city staff for taking care of all the logistics. It was not an easy feat, but thank you for that. And that's all I have to report. So I will turn it over to our city manager for her report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. First, let me double check for the mayor and the deputy mayor. Do you have the information for your animal control meeting? There's a report that police put together. I want to make sure you have it.
I have, is it in my email box? I have not received it, but I will, or is it in my inbox?
I'll make sure you have it and I'll give it
Digital copy is
better.
perfect. Yeah, but if I have a hard copy, that's fine too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. On the same topic, Councilmember Shea, you had asked for information regarding cremation services. What I can tell you is that the amounts that were showed are those that we pay for the services, but we receive full reimbursement for those services by the private individuals who have asked for them. So it's a pay-as-you-go service. If you need information on your animal, we can help you, but you have to pay. So that's that. And in fact, I will send this report to all of you because that information is also here. Okay. All right, so March 12th, indeed, it was very constructive meeting. It was productive dialogue, intense at times, but I think that it's because people care a great deal about these topics. And so we were able to walk away with some good direction, but more importantly, I think that we can say that we've had some outcomes. So let me start with relationship. The relationship that we have with Fort Lee to indicate the new direction in which we're going. Let me introduce you to the Vice President for Community Development for Fort Lee, Mr. Craig Cole, who is here today, and he wanted to say hello.
Hi, Council, Mayor, thank you for having me today. My name is Craig Toll, the Vice President of Community Development for Fort Lee. I've been with Fort Lee for 21 years, and we've been serving Hollister for about 13 years. So I wanted to be able to introduce myself. I take my direction from Mr. Val and Ms. Cortez, and we're always here to be supportive to the community and anything we can do to help to make sure that we're moving projects forward.
And so one of the key outcomes from this increased communication is that today we welcome a new building official. Her name is Jessica Edwards, and so Jessica and Gabe are now the 2 building officials for the city of Hollister. And Greg, maybe you can say a little bit about Ms. Edwards.
Yeah, there's a lot to say, because she's a terrific employee of Fort Lee, but she's a certified building official. She's also a building inspector. She's also a plans examiner and can serve in many capacities. One of the things we'd like her to do, and she has been doing already under the direction of the leadership here, is doing an assessment of where we're at in all processes and making recommendations to make sure that we provide the best opportunity for success here under Ms. Lopez's leadership. So I hope you get to meet her soon. She's very dynamic. I'm excited for her to engage with the building community. And we want to offer, a customer service first program with transparency. And I provided some solutions today to Ms. Cortez, Mr. Powell, that hopefully we get to move those forward and kind of show you what we're made of and to be able to address any action in real time.
Thank you, Mr. Cole, appreciate you being here. Originally, he was gonna join us via Zoom, but he came in person, so we appreciate that. And just to give you an example, we had an issue that came up last Thursday, a problem that we had been unable to solve since December. And so after Jessica this morning, and we had a quick meeting at the department, Jessica and I walked over to that business, and that business will open real soon on San Diego. So we were able to resolve that issue that had been lingering for months. And so I have hope that with her presence here, we'll begin to see some real changes. This coming Friday, we will see options for flow and review systems that we should be using in the future. The individuals, so on the 12th, we actually asked for volunteers who want to be part of this group that is going to look at a new system, and some folks said, me, they signed up. So we've communicated with them, so that group, it's been activated. So again, some of the conversation was, what are you gonna do next? So again, we asked for volunteers, we got them. There's a committee, they're reviewing proposals on Friday to see how we can move forward. So those are some of those changes. We have asked the finance department to join Ms. Edwards as she evaluates our workflow, our processes, our customer protocols, to see if there are ways in which the two departments can work together. I think that what I have found is, in this particular case, we've had one department that has been struggling. But we're all part of the same thing, and so there's absolutely no reason why other departments cannot come in and help out. There are strengths and weaknesses in every department. So we know that finance is very strong with their processes, especially under new leadership. And so it only makes sense to create that partnership. So that's my report, unless you have any questions.
And then just like a quick reminder that we did also agree as part of next steps to come back in about 2 months for another public gathering. I don't know if we're gonna call it a forum or what we're gonna call it, but part of it is going to be since the last time that we got together, March 12th, what progress have we made, what things are we still working on, and take additional comments and feedback from the public. So look out for more information about that follow-up that will come about in about 2 months.
Indeed. So the idea here is to continue moving forward, to find different ways on how to improve what we do. This year, maybe CPD, next year, maybe another department. The reality is that we all have room for improvement, and certainly in the city manager's office, there's room for improvement. So, we'll take it one step at a time, and we're very excited about all the energy that we have from staff, from members of the public, from the press. We had some coverage that I actually thought was very, very good for what had gone on, and there's been more follow-ups, and we are meeting with parties that have had issues that have lasted a little too long, and we will be fixing them. Hopefully getting some testimonials and putting them in social media, because we hear the bad, but we also want to hear the good.
Thank you.
That's it. Sorry, that is the end of my report.
Will you give us an update on sewer and water?
Of course.
Sorry about that.
I've
Yeah.
actually had passed the baton to Mr. Hernandez, who will give you an update on sewer and water. Our favorite topic.
Well, I thought you forgot about me, but, no, just a couple, quick things to point out with,
we, for domestic water, we are gonna implement that bridge rate and it's gonna be effective as of April 17th. We have mailers that are gonna be going out, in this March bill to all our customers. And we'll be posting that in our, website as well as, social media and we're gonna do all the outreach possible before we actually have to commit to that payment. We have, along with that, we have the 25% deduction for, what is it, the qualify for PG&E and electric care program. And so that'll be implemented as far as first, as soon as this first cycle goes in. The other item I wanted to point out as far as drinking water is that we're working with the State Department of Drinking Water with our hazard assessment and reporting. We have initially submitted a plan and we got some feedback back from the state, so we're revisiting that and making appropriate adjustments to that as well. As far as sewage, the domestic wastewater treatment plant, just quick update on the functionality of it. As I don't know if you guys have been able to drive by, but the smells have subdued quite a bit. We have all 5 aerators and 2 of them are oversized aerators in place currently. We are in possession of all 8 of the initial designed aerators and they are already being installed as we speak. So there's some electrical work that needs to be done on 3 locations, but those should be in here within the next 2 weeks. The drum roller, the filtration units, the drums are back in operation, and so those are completely restored. Both of them are. We are assisting with our backup truck to do some internal cleaning of those systems. The membranes are getting a higher dose of chemical cleaning starting this week. So we are beginning the process of as much recovery as we can on those membranes. So we are making progress. Again, the important thing is that we kind of continue with the momentum, right? We tackled the odor issue for the most part. I know we promised state mid-April, but I think we're almost there. And then we continue to move forward or making infrastructure improvements at the plant as needed. With that being said, as I get out of the odor kind of situations, we do want to let everybody in the public and council know that next Wednesday, 25th, we'll be having a CIP workshop. This is where we will be presenting the forecasted projects for the coming year. This is initially in draft form. They got distributed internally, so we're still doing some fine tuning to do it, but we want to incorporate the public in this process. That's probably not really for.
Okay, good. Question, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Stevens. Thank you, Javier. Where are we at with the sludge? It seems like we're getting that odor under control, but I think that sludge is supposed to continue to haunt us. We need to get that removed. So have we spoke to anybody about getting it removed, or what's the plan and how soon can we see that moving forward?
Yeah, well, as indicated, I think at the last update, the financial impact of doing sludge removal at this point is a significant impact. So we want to ensure that we have at the minimum of considered or analyze the process of purchasing our own equipment to do the sludge removal. So we're still waiting back on a vendor to get us price on it.
Okay, great. But I still think that we're going to have to take care of the existing sludge and then put that piece of equipment in as like a preventative measure for later. So even though it's a heavy cost, that's what we've done historically. And if we don't address it now, I don't anticipate like some new piece of equipment is going to take care of that forever. I think that piece of equipment is going to be something that's going to maintain the sludge, which I'm really excited and enthusiastic about, but we have to get the sludge out. And if we have a healthy fund balance in the sewer impact, I think that's what it's called, then we just need to do it. We need to bite the bullet and we do it. And then we look at prioritizing like the preventative measure as far as getting the system in there to maintain.
Council member will go ahead and proceed as quickly as we can. In fact, Ms. Thompson, maybe this is where some of those emergency resolutions come in handy, so that we can expedite the procurement.
And I would agree. Thank you.
Okay, any question?
You mentioned a workshop, when, what is that, where?
Oh, sorry, I didn't specify the location, but it's gonna be here at council chambers starting at 6 in the afternoon. And it's gonna be open to the public. We'll have a quick presentation. We'll go through some narratives. We reached out to different departments within the city. And this is a capital programs workshop. So it will be not only presenting on a couple of projects that are forecasted for next year, but it's a 5-year program that we're building.
The 24th.
25, so it's planning on this.
Yeah, and just to be really specific and then make sure that I'm understanding the public. The purpose of this is to get information out to prospective bidders for these projects or just to give information about the projects or both.
If I could
Okay.
answer the question, and so I'm really excited about the fact that some of you look confused. Because this is how we begin to engage community moving forward. In the past, we haven't done that. Moving forward, this is normal. Whenever there's a conversation to be had with the community, we will do so in a forum, in a town hall. Right now, in this case, it's gonna be here at City Hall. In the future, it could be in a community center. It could be in a park. And so when we talk about engaging the community, that is how we do it. In the past, CIP plans have not been discussed with community.
Thanks for that.
So thank you for being confused.
Yeah, no, because when I heard workshop, I, it sounded to me like sort of like a bidders conference kind of a thing. That's what makes sure. So thank you for clarifying. And I love that we're starting that practice because that is a good movement forward. On like so many of the things that we're doing internally, that just to give information to the public, be transparent, and in doing so, hopefully gain more of the trust that we should have in the public.
So this is our chance, we work in this facet every day, day in, day out. So we make our recommendations, but this is a workshop where it's open to the public, so they can come with suggestions, so.
Great. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it.
That time.
6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
Yeah, March 25th, 6 o'clock in the evening here, right? Yeah, so right where you're sitting. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay,
Thank
so I think that's it for the city manager report. And so let's go into, we're gonna go into closed sessions with, I don't know if it's gonna be you, Ms. Cortez, or is it gonna be Ms. Thompson's gonna read the closed session items?
I can easily do that with the mayor, so we are going into closed session. The first one is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to government section 54956.9. The other item is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to government code 54956.9. And last but not least is employee performance evaluation pursuant to government code 54957.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so we're gonna move into closed session, so we're gonna clear the chambers for this. Thank you to members of the public, and we will be proceeding to closed session.
Jen Thompson, I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the other link for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So go, yeah.
How are you?
Stop it. Good. Roman.
Do you have the number?
Not about the house.